Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to RLCS Overtime, your one-stop shop for all things RLCS and Rocket League eSports. I'm your host, Wave Punk. Got a findable carpet, a Quinn Lobdell, and why do we do this show? Good. It's like every week we leave somebody out, bring somebody new in here. Lawler's here this week. How you doing, bud?
Good.
Good. Just good. Just fine and dandaroony.
Like the most meek. Good.
So you finally got off the train stop in New Jersey. I see. Finally made it back.
Oh yeah, it was a long trip.
Okay.
A few interruptions on the way. You know, totally not my own fault.
Did Gibbs wave at you as he went back to New Jersey? As he like when he was like, hi!
Actually, we got off at the same train stop and switched at the same time, so I gave him a little high.
Okay.
That's great.
Give him a stank face for leaving you there on the landing. Guys, crazy week of Rocket League action here as North America did pan out, and we ended with no teams left undefeated. Cloud9 and NRG and G2 Esports all finding losses. G2 and Cloud9 were the two that we were kind of sitting there looking at, we're going to have a matchup of the undefeated teams here, but G2 was defeated, had a loss by the time they got to that match, and then they gave a loss to Cloud9.
No teams undefeated, but one team only defeated. Allegiance still struggling to get their first win. That's got to be a bit defeating. I mean, 0-5 right now. They are starting to run out of games and places to earn points. They're struggling.
I just love the only defeated. I don't think I've ever heard that, but that's. Oh man, that's got to be so rough to hear. They're 0-5. Like they're still looking for that first win. They went to Game 5 in both of their series this weekend. They're going up against Ghost and against Renegades, and like Game 5, going up and one of them went to overtime. One of them nearly went to overtime in Game 5. So close for these guys.
I mean, that's the difficult part too, because they played Renegades. Those two are neck and neck in the standings. Tiebreaker goes to Renegades, so they're even more so at a disadvantage. So, rip Allegiance.
Yeah. There's a very, very good chance that they're going to be in the relegation tournament at the end there and have to. I should have learned beforehand if it was even possible for them to get out of the bottom two right now.
I think that they are stuck. It's not 100% sure, but I think they are going to be in the relegation series. And if I were them, at least don't worry too much about like eking out wins in league play. Just try and improve as fast as possible for that series, right?
Yeah, get ready for that. I mean, they've done it once before. They did it in the play-in this season. They could easily do it again, and we could see them next season. But who is hot? Obviously, Allegiance having some struggles right now. But the teams that are hot right now in league play, we can talk about a few of them. G2 and Cloud9 was kind of the match everybody had their eye on this week, and it did not disappoint. G2 coming out with the victory in the end.
I was actually really surprised about this, only because we said it on broadcast a billion times, but we never know which G2 we're going to see when they take step on the pitch. You never know. Is it going to be the one that just starts with all the crazy passing plays, or is it going to be the G2 that everyone's concerned if they, for some reason, let newbies still log onto their account? That's a little strong worded, but
yeah. Well, this G2 was probably one of the most direct G2, like the play style at least is the most direct I've ever seen them play. There wasn't really like a lot of kind of pussyfooting around. They're just putting that ball as fast as they can on target, and you saw it paid off dividends for them.
Yeah, for me, like I came into this week saying G2 is going to go 1-1 this week. They're probably going to lose to Cloud9, but they'll win their other match against FlyQuest. And it was the complete opposite, and it made no logical sense. But a lot of it did have to do with Rizzo. Rizzo had a huge series against this G2 squad.
Oh yeah,
and I don't think
it's G2 squad against Cloud9. He plays for G2.
Yeah. I don't think he'd been feeling good about his performances lately either.
Sometimes they have internal struggles, okay?
Yeah, I don't think he's been feeling good about his performance yet either. We'll just have a conversation while these two fools do whatever they're doing.
I was listening. Tell me.
Please don't forget about me.
I think that's a big part of it, though. I think Rizzo really stepping up to give the relief of his two teammates as well. Just like he's going to be there when he needs to. Overall, I think all of G2 wasn't too happy with their performance, and I don't think that's a surprise. And there was when that roster first got together, and I had the honor of casting them in one of their first matches at the RLCS, like on this stage. I was blown away by what they could pull off, and it seems like they really haven't been able to get back to that. The honeymoon phase that every team goes through. But just like, oh, we're great, right? Sure. And then they're like, we are great. And they're like, what happened? And then everything goes down.
It's the story of G2. Are they on or are they off? What sort of team are they going to show? That they struggle with consistency a lot, and they get swept by they lose in 4 games to FlyQuest earlier. It was Cloud9. They got swept by Ghost, or they swept to Ghost rather. I'm misreading my own notes. But they get the victory here over Cloud9, and it has to feel good to be able to get that victory against what is considered the hottest team in the league right now. So that puts them right up there. We've only seen them play 3 games, so they still have half of their league play to go, even though we're moving into week 4 now, because they started off with bye weeks in their 1-game week already. So still a lot of G2 action left to go.
A little more than half.
A little more than, no, they've played 3, and yeah, they have
So they have to play 4.
Yes, that's
a little more than half.
Sure, a little more than half. Fine. If you want to go semantics. That's why I was saying half.
Well, we just made eye contact and we're like, okay, we're doing that. But we thought we were both like, us.
You missed the conversation that we had finally together.
Okay, cool. It's fine. It's tough there. But moving over to talk about like who's not hot right now. 2 teams are coming to mind for me here, and Ghost had a rough week here. And it wasn't necessarily because they didn't play well. They had these like Lethamir's internet just decided to not exist, and it's an online tournament, so the poor guy couldn't play in the first match of the day, and they got swept by Cloud9 there. And then it took him miraculously coming and showing up at the end of Game 5 to win it in overtime. Lethamir did end up playing and getting the win here over Allegiance, but it did take Game 5 overtime to get it, and Lethamir showing up in a big fashion.
Yeah, he tried everything he could to get it back, but the issue was it wasn't just that his internet was out, it was all of Toronto. Like you could go to a friend's house or something to get help out that way, but he actually mentioned and tweeted afterwards that after he was able to play that last game and they get the victory and bring it through, that it immediately went back out afterwards. So like for some reason they're like, okay, you can play Game 5 and that's it. Then he's gone. So he got lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone's like, do you all feel that like Lethamir basically saved the series here? Did he save their season? Because if they lost this one, they would have been at 1-2. And they would have been in a much more difficult situation. Was Lethamir the savior of Ghosts here?
I mean, it's really hard to say because then at that point you're essentially just erasing all the work that his 2 teammates did to get those 2
Classic
wins.
Gets credit. He kept him to Game 5. Like he put a lot of effort in to make sure they even got to that point.
And how do we feel about Blues? You know, we see him showing up. He didn't expect to play. The guy had to rush home from something else he was doing just to play. He was not expecting to have to be relied on there. And then Lethamir didn't show up, and so they had to call on their sub. Like, how do we feel about Blues in his debut at RLCS?
I mean, I think it was just an unfortunate situation for him, to be honest. Anyone would rather have more than 20 minutes notice that they have to play their first game of the RLCS. Something anyone's going to be happy about that. You always want to warm up a bit. At least just get your hands on the controller, play a couple of matches so that your brain's kind of in that rotation mode or understanding how to play the team. And a lot of teams don't play with their subs. You just don't have the time to play with them. So Blues probably hadn't played with these 2 guys in God knows how long. I don't know their practice schedule as much as I'd, love to know, I guess. I don't even know. Don't tell me your practice schedule, guys. I'm not your dad.
Sure.
I mean, one of the, a really good point that you brought up, one of the huge things about substitutes is that you just don't have any time at all. And your substitute typically is just somebody who isn't going to bleed a lot of goals for you. Sure. It doesn't have to be somebody who can go and score insane goals. But usually, since most teams don't even practice with their sub, they're just looking for someone who is going to go in, play the way they want to play, and just let the team kind of fill in the empty spots for whoever they want to be. You don't get your substitute and say, hey, do your best Kronovi impression or impersonation, right? It's just play how you can and don't give up goals. So on that note, I mean, Blues, they won the series. He did enough.
Yeah, I mean, their first series, they did look really cold. You could tell that as he got to play more and more, he did play better. But to counter on that, too, and talk about that more, for how little these guys play with subs, he was at a baseball game. He wasn't even at his house ready just in case a situation occurred. He was completely off doing a completely different activity and had to rush home to help these guys out last minute.
Rocket League better than baseball confirmed?
Confirmed. Absolutely. Well, playing in your professional career, debut on the stage for sure. Probably a little bit better than I guess watching a baseball game or whatever he was doing there.
There was baseball involved and he was at it.
It's hard to make any real definitive statements about Ghosts on this particular match, this particular day, because they were playing with a sub, because they weren't playing with their full roster. And you can look at it and be like, oh, Lethamir had to show up and they went to overtime in Game 5, and Allegiance was competing toe to toe with them even when they were at their full roster. But Lethamir had just gotten his internet back and is completely cold coming into that day, and stuff. So, how do you think that this sort of rough week that they barely kind of scrape by staying alive here is going to affect them moving forward?
I don't think it will in a major way. To be honest, it's one of those things you can easily just write off as a ridiculous circumstance that hopefully never happens again. Even if they lost by their own accord, it's easy to just mention oh, we only lost because we were changing people around, even if they were all playing at their prime. And I think Allegiance did a grand job. I really do like watching that team. I think the plays they pull off are as high caliber as any other team. Their biggest issue is, again, leaving those holes whenever they do come up for those plays and not perfectly communicating on rotations and stuff. But I don't think it should affect them going forward. I definitely think the loss would have affected them a lot more.
Yeah.
I think the win, they were just, oh, okay, we got past the bump. There was a mini earthquake happening during our game or something insane, but we did it. We're okay.
Now, one team I forgot to mention when we were talking about who was still hot in the league that I would hate if we left them out. FlyQuest had a fantastic week here. They were 0-2 coming into this week. They win both their matches. They win against G2 here, going 3-1 in that series. Talk to me about FlyQuest right now. Is this a team that is a contender for the top 3 right now?
It's hard to argue that they aren't. I mean, they're one of those teams that have gotten really significant wins that we just haven't seen enough of, in my opinion. Like, I haven't seen the real FlyQuest capability yet. I think there's still plenty of time for them to develop and really get going, but they have a bunch of veterans on their team. They're playing the best that they've ever played, in my opinion, which isn't saying much because we have seen some really down play from them. No offense to Sad Jr. You haven't been looking the greatest, but
no,
he's playing a lot better now.
I mean, Sad Jr. kind of, him and Kronovi both like have almost the same storyline, I guess, through their Rocket League careers, where it's like have really insane starts to the competitive scene, and then both of them dropped huge. Their skill sets just were not impressive at all. I think season 2 kind of that whole area and it seemed like they both made a lot of efforts trying to improve themselves, becoming better team players. You really see that a lot with Sad Jr. I think as a whole, his consistency has improved so much that, I mean, it's just coming out and being shown in FlyQuest. I think on G2, Kronovi, I think, has improved, and he has made huge strides. I think the problem is that he's just not as consistent, that those improvements, we don't see them as often as we do with Sad Jr.
And Corrupted G's, just watch him shoot.
No,
he played out of his mind.
I think getting back to what Lars said, all these guys are playing the best they've played to date right now, and to be playing together, it seems like a really cohesive roster. I think that they have a very good chance. I think they will absolutely make it into the playoffs. I don't see them in the bottom 7th and 8th spots, so definitely see them in playoffs, and then they could easily make the run through. They could possibly take it from NRG, but they're gonna have to go through Cloud9 and G2. There's a lot of really good competition still here in North America. Speaking of North American competition and players playing their best, who's in the lead for the races for the accolades right now? Let's take a look at the standings and where these players are sitting currently. About halfway through league play, we can take a look at the Golden Striker to start it off here. No surprise here, Cloud9's Golden Boy Gimmick sitting up there at the top, followed closely by Corrupted G.
He barely dropped. He was, 1.2 by the end of last week, and now 1.1, so still keeping up.
Even with the loss, too.
Yeah, still keeping up.
They are one of 4 teams currently in all of the leagues that has played 5 games. They are nearly done with their league play here. They only have 2 more games to play, and he's still sitting up there at the top, averaging more than a goal a game.
And Corrupted G, as I said, monster striker, especially this last weekend. I'd like to see where he was before, but he was able to put in anything he put, any kind of challenge on. Whenever his car hit that ball, it was just a laser for a target.
Absolutely. And take a look at who is in the lead for assists right now. Believe it's the clutch playmaker. That's what they call it. Yes, Lethamir here from Ghost, going to be up at the top there. Only playing 1 game kind of helps out your average a little bit there. But Gimmick, again, can you believe he's in the lead? He's in the top 5 for strikers and the top 5 for assists.
I mean, a lot of that does have to do with him and the way that he plays his position. Being that 3rd man usually to rotate in, he's the one that cleans shots up. And sometimes if he doesn't make that initial shot, usually the ugliness that follows afterwards, the aftermath of it all, gets put in afterwards, and that's where he gets a lot of those assists. But still, for them to be in that position, Gimmick is going to be up there simply because of the position that he plays in that 3rd rotation.
Yeah, I think actually if we looked at all of Cloud9, we would probably see pretty high assist numbers just all around the board. I think it's just the nature of their play style. But I think Gimmick especially, I mean, he has had a standout performance by far. I don't want to take anything away from him.
Yeah,
especially with how many games they've played.
Yeah,
we've been talking about the informal, Rookie of the Year award, and I believe Gimmick, especially for North America, is right now just very much out in the front. Everybody's like, this is the guy for it. But as far as formal awards go, taking a look at over on the defensive side of things, who's in the lead as far as saves across North America. Insolence is actually at the top. They had a bye week this past week, so we didn't get to see Rogue play, but Seabass up there and Garrett G as well. Now the Seabass is more in line with what we've seen in the past, where teams that are down at the bottom that are struggling to get the wins will have a lot of defense, but to see Garrett G up there on this list as well, still very impressive.
I have to echo with that, to be honest. The fact that Insolences and Garrett G are in the top 3 for that, Kronovi falling right behind him, and to kind of speak on what Quinn was saying, Kronovi had a tendency in Season 2 and 3 to always want to be in charge of an attack because he knows he's so good at it. Because why not? He pioneered half the mechanics that we all use as people. he should be ahead of that. But just to see that he's the only one on his team that's in the top 5 in the league individuals for Savior means that he really has understood how to start becoming more of a full team player as opposed to just, I know I can get us the goals.
Absolutely. Now we can check in with our sister league, the relegation league, the Rocket League Rival Series, and see where their standings are at right now. No surprise, the teams that we're expecting to be at the top right now up there, Fibian still undefeated. Every week we check in with them. They have yet to get a loss. And Hollywood Hammers, you might say, I've never seen that name on this board before. Well, they were formerly set to destroy, then they became Radiance when they left that org, and now picked up by Hollywood Hammers. They are still undefeated in the Rival Series.
The thing I'm most excited for is we look at how NA's playing out. We might see a rematch between Fibian and Alliance.
Could be. And Out of Style, I believe Out of Style had a great week as well. So those are our top 3 for the Rival Series. The teams we're expecting to be at the top, currently at the top, looking to try and get in next season. So we'll keep you up to date with how that league is going. But moving forward and looking at next week and what matches are coming up, 6 matches on the docket once more here. We've got some big ones in store for you. G2 and NRG will be rounding out the day there. And those 2 teams, again, battles for that top spot, trying to be in the top 2 of league play, to be able to guarantee their spots, through in the playoffs here. Cannot wait to see NRG play G2.
I mean, for me, I want to watch match number 2, G2 and Rogue. We've got a bunch of teams that are all fighting for that spot of like 3, 4, wherever it may be. And in that kind of situation, you're going to see G2 having a chance to finally put themselves starting to head into, okay, we can almost guarantee our spot. No issues with tiebreakers. Like, they have a really big advantage in that situation. But which G2 are we going to see again? It's so difficult to predict their games because I have no idea which team I'm going to see out of them.
Yeah, the other thing we have happening here, Cloud9 has their bye week here, so they will sit nice and pretty at just their 4-1. Nothing's going to change there, but NRG right behind them at 3-1. They play 2 games, one against G2 and one against FlyQuest as well. 2 huge matches there, and if they win both of those, they could take the #1 spot there for the day.
And honestly, I think it's huge. We kind of forget, we don't talk about it as much. Just making it to playoffs means you're in Season 5. You're in Season 5 RLCS so long as you guys don't all hate each other, break up, and go your separate ways. So that's on the players, right? But that is, I think, massive. And even if you make it down to the bottom 2, then you still have a chance to win the promotion relegation. So none of this is just like, well, chuck them to the dogs because they're done for the fight, which is what we've seen previously. It's like, well, sorry, if you don't make top 6, then you're just done. And then if you don't make land, you're done again.
Absolutely.
So it's a lot bigger for these players to do.
So we'll get to see some big dogs fighting against each other next week over in North America. But before we move on to talking too much about North America, we got to talk about Europe as well. So when we come back, we're going to do the exact same thing just over in the European region. Tell you how everything's going over there. Stick around. It'll be fun. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Overtime, ladies and gentlemen. We just got done talking about North America, and now it's time for Europe. So, of course, we bring out our resident European, Shogun. Yep. You're here. How's it going?
Well, I was fine until I heard the lack of enthusiasm in Wave's voice for that one.
Resident European.
Woo, Shogun.
He's just always here to make me sound like I don't know what I'm talking about.
It's like resident sleeper, but resident European.
Something like that. It's similar in that vein, some degree, because they both share the word resident. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the standings and how they stand after 3 weeks of league play in Europe. Got 2 undefeated teams crowned on the top of the board here. Method and PSG are only undefeated teams in the RLCS right now.
Yeah, both those teams looking absolutely solid. Method taking their week off, so it'll be interesting to see how exactly they're going to come into week number 4 now that they've had time to just sort of stew in the fact that, wow, we are really doing this well, whilst PSG, they just can't be stopped right now. They've looked so good, but those two, they've got themselves a roadblock ahead.
And right now in both regions, we're seeing like rookies at the top. Bluey, never seen him here at the RLCS, and by rookie, I mean RLCS rookie, all right?
Yes.
Stop correcting us. We know he's played before. Sorry.
He never played the game before. No, he just hasn't played on this stage, and here they are. And down at the bottom, also one of the similarities between the two. There's a team that's 0-5, the team that kind of slipped in, that knocked a team out of the way, and is struggling to find their wins right now. Team Secret had opportunities this week, but just not able to find the wins.
Yeah, I really feel like this week was Secret's biggest opportunity. I've been speaking to Talacto. He took on 2 of those target teams of theirs. They needed at least 3 wins, in my opinion, if they wanted to try and avoid the promotion relegation series, but instead they lost, and it was actually probably their worst week I've seen from them so far in their biggest opportunity. So right now they're really far back. They're going to struggle. At the moment we're kind of looking at the region as who's going to get 7th, who's going to try and get into the regionals, because we're doubting them at this point.
Yeah, and talking about teams that had, pivotal weeks here for them, going 0-2 was a big deal. But for PSG, Method had a bye week, so we didn't get to see them play, but PSG had 2 series, and they went 2-0 in both of them. They are 4-0 right now. This team is on fire.
I mean, we can't talk enough, too, but before we even get into any of it, congratulations to them for getting that sponsor. That's a huge deal. It's also really cool to just see that name in RLCS altogether, but a lot of it has to do with everybody on their team being involved. There's no one being left out whatsoever. They're just playing overall clean Rocket League. Everybody's making their secure touches. Everybody's getting involved. Rotations are on point. Very, very minimal mistakes for their team.
Yeah, we see here Farah having his rematch against Flipside Tactics. This was a big match in Season 3, and here he gets the win again. Flipside's still struggling to beat a team that Farah's on. They knocked them out of league play as well at the LAN from Season 3, so Farah and his boys right now. Bluey, a fantastic player. And oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the 3rd player, of course. It always happens.
Shawset?
Shawset, thank you. Thank you very much. The other French.
That's what I'm here for. I'm the other resident European. Hi.
It is legitimately just anytime your brain as a caster is like, name all 3 players on the team, go. There's always one that it's like, I don't know. It's right there. But
give me multiple choice. I want 4. I'll get the 3 right.
Yeah, every time. The name's in front of me, I got it. But the moment you got to pull them out of your brain when you got 8 teams to pull from, it's hard stuff.
Yeah, but right now PSG, we've seen how they play. I love the fact that they can just do anything right now. They can adapt to any style that's currently put in front of them. If they have a team like Flipside ahead of them that likes to play on the ground a little bit more, fine. You've got Bluey, one of the best ball carriers in the entire league. We've got another team like Envy or Galeforce that's much better at hitting the ball long. Fine, we can do that. We can drag the ball as much as we want to. We can find each other in the midfield. Right now, I'm going to be very curious to see if there is a weakness in PSG.
It's just their creativity has been phenomenal. The way that they move the ball is exactly like that. Their ability to adapt, whether it's on the ground or in the air, like they just seem to have every piece of the puzzle figured out for their play styles on each player of the team. It's really exciting to watch.
Shogun, I want to poke you.
Yo, it's really far away.
I know, not legitimately.
Okay,
with a thought.
Transitive poke.
When you saw that roster, Shawset Farah Bluey, before we started, and I'm asking you because I think you've just probably seen them play a lot more frequently. You probably run to them in ranked, unlike a lot of us. You've got a high rank. When you saw those 3 together, what were your expectations and hopes for them coming forward?
Well, honestly, when I came into the season, I had them pegged down as 4th.
Okay.
For this entire region. So they've performed above my expectations, but I still thought, you know what, this is the team I thought would do really, really well. I'm just happy to still be wrong when it comes to that and see them just going, yeah, we're good, but we're really good. You've got to respect them at this point.
It's interesting, too, because they actually came in as the 4th seed in play-ins. It's not like they weren't expected to make it as a LAN team per se. It's just the competition was stacked against them. You talk about, okay, we've got Gale Force, we've got Flipside, we've got Envy, we've got. It's like, okay, where do you put them when you expect all these other teams to play much better than they are right now? But that's the difference of RLCS. It's just a matter of playing throughout those 5 weeks and showing that you're here to play, and they've been doing just that. They're beating teams that we originally didn't think they would, just because the competition is so heavy in Europe.
It's one of those things of, we look at Europe right now, and it's a case of, we came into this and I said straight up to Lola at the very first week, we will not have any 4-0 teams or any team that is completely undefeated by the time we reach week number 3. We've reached week number 3. We've got 2 of them.
We have 2 still, only in Europe.
It's stacked upon stacked upon stacked, and they've still managed it.
I think it's just because there's a lot of teams that are playing way worse than we expected, though.
Speaking of which, on the other side, we found who's hot right now. It's PSG. Who's not? Poor Envy, our reigning world champions here in RLCS, are just having the worst start you could possibly have right now. They have 1 win under their belt. This week they went up against Excel, and they got swept by Excel. And then they also went up against Mocket, lost that one in 4 games. And there was a lot of Twitter drama last week. This week, pretty much just silent, because they just don't have anything to say right now about this.
And just coming in to EU League play this season, who were our top 3, right? What were the ones you're putting up there? Envy, Gale Force,
Flipside.
Flipside, where they're always the you kind of throw the dart at a really high angle, and maybe Flipside. Yeah. But either way, we still had them pegged somewhere up there. Who is really struggling? Envy, Gale Force, Flipside.
Number 5, 6, and 7 on the standings right now is Gale Force, Flipside, and it's Envy right now.
It's mind-blowing. I don't actually understand how to predict anything anymore in Europe. And anyone who gets our pick'ems right is probably the stupidest one at this point. Because why are you predicting this nonsense?
Flip the coin, man. Flip the coin like you did, but don't go with back of hand as your answer. It probably doesn't work.
I mean, if you're next to Shogun.
In a world where you take Greasy and you put them back on a team with Remco, and then they're just losing all over the place. In my mind, I'd be like, oh, this is great. They're going back to an old tried and true duo, and it just is not panning out for them right now. I think that and then talking to some of their players, they felt like it's not that there's any one particular thing that they're messing up. It's just general inconsistency. They just have been on kind of a downward slope, and they've got to get their grounding again.
I mean, we are kind of going in on them as we should be at this point in time. They have not performed up to standard. I feel like they definitely got caught though yesterday with the Devo problem.
Yeah,
Devo, he had a lot of issues, but in general, if that wasn't there, that could have been a really good series between those 2 teams. But didn't quite have him there. He wasn't able to play at his best. I see you smiling. I know it's right there, okay?
I mean, for me, when they played Excel, they got to that 3rd game. It went into overtime in that 3rd game, and they started to get their footing, but the issue was it was too late already. They finally started to slow it down and control the pace and do a bunch of things. Remco had 3 back-to-back mind games because they finally had control of the pitch for the first time all series. And then leave wide open net, and it's a long clear, and they lose the series.
Yeah, and it's interesting just to note that there are 4 teams right now that have played 5 games in our league. 2 of them are Allegiance and Secret, who both are sitting at 0-5. But then in North America, it's Cloud9 at 4-1, and in Europe, it's Envy at 1-4. Just complete antithetical starts for the number 1 seeds from their regions as they're just continuing to try and find their wins. And Envy is running out of time right now to get out of this relegation area that they're sitting in right now.
And sitting and watching games just from a very surface level, obviously you can delve in any game for probably an hour apiece and figure out everything a team's doing wrong. But it almost feels like a lot of the play styles that these teams that are struggling, it's like they're going out of the pitch, but then they're like lost children, it feels like. I'll see okay, so this is what they're doing. And then I swear a minute and a half later, I'm like, that's not happening anymore. Everything's falling apart. And I don't know if they're just unaccustomed to having such a challenge by every team every week, since Europe, as we mentioned, is getting closer and closer and closer. But it's weird. 2 minutes into a match, I'm like, all right. In my head, I'm like, this is what they're doing. They're getting these passing plays. This is our positioning. 2 minutes in, I'm like, none of that's happening anymore. What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the reigning world champs are going to, at best, finish 3-4 in league play, and they need some real help to make it all the way through the playoffs if they can even get up into those standings. So we'll see how things pan out for them. But how are things panning out for the players in particular? We talked about it over in North America. Now let's talk about it here in Europe. As far as the player accolades, who's our golden striker? Who's in the lead right now? Up for Excel, a player we haven't talked about too much, a team that actually had a pretty good week here as they also went 2-0, going up against Envy and Secret. Niels Cook sits at the top right now, 1.2 per game. game.
Niels Cook was right up there last season as well, really challenging K-Dop and Cooks here. I think he came in 3rd overall. He stepped up, and it's a player that XL really did need to step up, because without that, they were going to probably struggle to really get much of anything. But the surprise on that one is Zenzus. I've never seen Zenzus as a striker, and that might just be like a bias on my part of maybe I looked at him the wrong way for all this time.
Well, he's been living in the shadow of Niels Cook as well.
It almost looked like he was the feeder player for Niels Cook, but he's stepping up, put him there. I actually like that idea. Maybe put Pondex back, because you know he's not going to make mechanical mistakes.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, having the Batmobile player be the sweeper on the team also feels like a solid move as well. Take a look at where we're at with the assists. The golden playmaker, the clutch playmaker, that's what it's called. Niels Cook also on the top here. Bluey, the new MVP player, the rookie of the year. That's the term I'm looking for. Sitting at the top there, 0.94 assists per game.
For me, looking at Bluey and stuff, like we talked about a little bit earlier, his air control just sets up opportunities for his teammates. He's not afraid to lead the charge and then just have everybody follow suit. And that's part of the reason why you see Shaw set up there as well when he was in the Golden Striker. It's just the teamwork that they have going on, and I'm happy to see that he's setting up his teammates in that sense, especially as a rookie. It's really hard to take complete charge. Like, even though he's the youngest on the team, to me, he's playing as the captain of the team, which is hard to do against veterans on your side. Like, for him to just really speak up and be like, guys, like, pay attention to me, I'm over here. Like,
well, just to speak a tiny bit on why so for a while, air dribbles were just like, no one knew how to read them. If you could do them, you could probably score. But now people are able to predict them. So the people that are really, really good in the air, if you make too many shots on net, that's when like everything goes down. Your striking goes down, your assists go down, because your target's so small and people can read it. But if you have great air control and you want to pass, your target becomes much larger. Now it's an area of the field, and now you can actually still defeat that 1 or 2 players because you have so much more room to play, and your air control is really good. So I think that's why a lot of the people that had crazy air control are kind of moving from, carrying into the net and now into the passing position.
Yeah, and that
you look concerned.
You've got that mostly correct on that one. It's more of like it's more of reading what the other team is doing. If you can see the positioning of the other squad, you can see, right, they're all rotating back. You've got 2 options. You've got to hit it really hard, maybe get into net, but they can push it into the corner and they will still be safe. But if you can get an air dribble, and this is something where Bluey and Squishy are so useful as players, you pull it up. As you challenge, you're either going to be challenging and pushing towards your own net, or you're going to be trying to push it to the side, at which point there's still a challenge from the air dribbler, at which point it's still going to be dangerous. The only way you can really deal with an air dribble correctly is by running straight onto it, which you can only really do whilst you're in the net. That's what just makes him so useful.
Absolutely. Well, we need to also take a look on the defense at where we're at as far as who's making the most saves over in Europe right now. Crown at the top of that leaderboard, Chaussette from PSG. Also Fairy Peak there. Haven't talked a lot about Mocket, but they actually had a fantastic week as well. Also going 2-0 and sit there right with Excel in the middle of the standings right now. One of those teams kind of along the similar lines of FlyQuest, of a team that's making a lot of waves right now. So Fairy Peak and Chaussette up here in the number 1 and number 2.
And we're not seeing the usual trend. Generally, the saviors of last season were the teams that were struggling and were just getting shot on so often, and we're just losing by these large margins, or they'd get 15 saves in a game and then still lose by 3 goals. That's clearly not the case at this point. So, again, it's that kind of toss-up of what is the a way that each team is approaching the pitch and who are they going against. And we don't really have like the kind of struggling team as significantly gapped as we did last season.
Sure, absolutely. But talking about Europe's been a lot of fun. I want to know how it's going down over in OCE. So let's hear from Yummy Cheeseman. Cheeseman, how you doing?
Thanks, Wavepunk. I'm doing well, and so is the Oceanic region. We actually have 5 teams tied in first place right now on 2 wins and 1 loss, and 1 team right behind them, that's Avant Gaming. But we had a large upset this week with Chiefs eSports Club, formerly known as Alpha Sydney, you all know and love from last season, getting taken down by Legacy eSports, who was running a sub. It's a big upset for the region, and it's really shocked the standings, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say about that.
Thanks so much, Yummy. Man, crazy to hear Chiefs dropping a game there to a team playing with a sub. We've seen some similar storylines over here with NRG taking a loss early, and we have no undefeated teams now here in North America, but over there, so tight. tied for first, 2-1, 5 teams. So OCE definitely a region to be keeping your eye on. But let's look back at the European Rocket League Rival Series. Where are the teams that we've been expecting to do well? Well, they're up at the top right now. Leftovers still with no losses. The two teams, Fibian over in North America and Leftovers here in Europe, sitting there clean, undefeated right now.
Shogun, you and I chatted a little bit about Endpoint. They are in a team house, I think, right now, right?
Are.
Which they're, I think, one of the first teams I know. I know G2 kind of did it, but it was like 2 of them, and things got weird. But I'm really excited to see how they perform.
Absolutely. And we can take a look at how things are going to be panning out for week number 4 over in Europe. Some big games there. And as with the we're at the 6 games right now. Game number 5, the showdown of the undefeated teams. After that match, we will only have 1. We could possibly only have 2. We could possibly have none by the end of that match if PSG were to lose earlier. But right now, match 5, that's what I'm looking at.
You see, I talked earlier on that PSG and Method have both got roadblocks to come into. What I failed to mention is that roadblock is each other. They are 2 cars hurtling towards each other. Only one team can come out of that. And whoever wins that is going to be so set heading into the final week.
Yeah, this week's going to be crazy. Match 2, we see Method going up against Mocket, and then match 3 is PSG going up against Excel. Excel, Method, or Excel and Mocket are the 3 and 4 place teams, so it's the 1 and the 2 facing off against the 3 and the 4 right now, and then the 2 undefeated teams will be going off against each other. It's going to be a crazy week. Can't wait to see how that week pans out, guys. So be definitely tuned in to Rocket League, twitch.tv/Rocket League this weekend to see all that action. It'll be great. When we come back, Krenovi, everybody's favorite player, on the line here. Going to talk to him. It's going to be a great time. Can't wait to hear what he's got to say about how North American League play is going. Have that and more when we come back to Overtime. Welcome back to Overtime, ladies and gentlemen. Just got done talking about week 3 and how everything panned out there, and a big upset happened, or a big game happened between G2 and Cloud9, where G2 was able to give Cloud9 their first loss of the season. And on the line to talk to us today, Cameron Bills Krenovi, arguably the most popular player in all of Rocket League since the beginning of time. Cameron, how you doing?
I'm doing good. That's very flattering.
I always got to suck up just a little bit, you know, just a little bit. This is the most important season of RLCS for a number of reasons, and particularly because of the introduction of the promotion relegation and the RLCS and the RLRS. How did you as a player feel when you heard about the announcement of the Rival Series, especially knowing you were going to have to play through that play-in?
Play-ins are always a little scary, as you know, even as a new team, as an old team, anything can happen in a play-in. We see it every single season. Not everything goes as it's planned. And it was nice to see that the RLRS had this kind of fallback you know, you're not just out and you have to try again and you have another scary plan next season because you didn't make it this season. You can still maybe fall a little bit short, but prove that you are RLCS capable over the course of one season and have that shot. So it was nice to see. It was a little comforting, but our mindset also wasn't focused on the RLRS or what if we don't make it to the play-in. We were focused on what do we need to do? We're going to make the play-in because we're going to play this way, we're going to practice this way, and we're going to try our best.
Absolutely. Well, and you guys make it through cleanly, and you've been having a pretty successful league play so far. G2 has a really vocal fan base. You guys have made arguably the biggest fan base in North America, and G2 is still chasing that first LAN victory. Like, what is it about G2 you think that keeps your fans coming back all the time?
I think a lot of the fans remember the very first season, and it's kind of just been remembering that as we go on. I think a lot of the fans see the potential in us. Because, I mean, we see the potential in us. We've played very, very, very well online before, but sometimes, you know, we're hot or we're cold. And the fans see the potential and they have the faith. And it's just a matter of time before we deliver on that.
For sure. Does having that vocal fan base behind you, does that add any pressure in game? Like when you're thinking about playing your matches and stuff, knowing you've got that many people like watching you and counting on you?
I think for a lot of people, the more eyes on them, the worse they play, unless you are used to it. I think I'm one of the more tempered players in that regard. I've had eyes on me since the beginning of the scene, and I've definitely disappointed a lot of people on a live audience before. So I'm more used to it, I would say, than a lot of other people, and nowadays it doesn't affect me nearly as much as it used to.
Yeah, for sure. It's the losing that makes you the battle-hardened veteran that knows how to push through and get to the wins. And you've definitely, like you said, you've been there since the beginning and been chasing this victory. So, but you were season one, like you said, they remember season one as the preeminent world champion. That was you and your boys there. Moving to from the past, now talking about this past weekend, you guys going up against FlyQuest, and Sad Jr. is having one of the best seasons that he's had in a long time. Seems to have built a really solid roster around himself. How do you feel about FlyQuest?
FlyQuest is looking really good. I think they're on the up and up. I'm really happy for Sad. I think he's got a team that's not just 3 players. It's people who have his back. They're friends. Chrome is a great leader on a team, and Gabe and Sad are willing to listen, and I think they have very good constructive feedback for one another, and this allows them to play with more confidence. Gabe is playing the best he's ever played. Sad is playing the best he's ever played, and I think it's because they're a great team.
For sure, and they gave you guys your first loss here in league play. Walk me through the match from your perspective.
Well, we were playing different cars first, Janus Marauder and Rizzo and Breakout, and we had been practicing with those cars in scrims and doing well, and we felt confident in them, and I think it came down to confidence against FlyQuest. We didn't challenge when we should have. We were so worried about losing a challenge in the midfield or losing a challenge on our half, or over-committing, that we just hesitated, and we didn't do much. And Chrome did a great job spotting that we were hesitating, and he just went for bumps because we gave them free space. So he took that free space, and I mean, we got read really well by FlyQuest.
Yeah, they played a good game. Was there any reason you weren't trying a new car other than just sticking on the Octane?
No, I wasn't having a crisis. I was. I figured, if I'm playing bad, it's me, and I just need to power through it. I've been there before, way back in season 2. I played Breakout during the regular season. And I'll never do that again.
It was funny. I think that was the first time I'd ever seen like a heat wave, like a black market decal on like an OG car like the Breakout. Like I hadn't seen the Breakout and like a BM decal put together. So it was a cool looking car there. But you guys definitely switched back to your normal stuff as you went forward to move and play against Cloud9. 1-4 gave them their first loss here in league play. What were comms like for you guys going through that match?
We were really trying to make sure that we had a fast comms to keep up with the pace of gameplay. We knew we needed to outpace Cloud9, and we knew that we needed to stop the passing plays, apply a ton of pressure. So our comms were very fast, and every time we scored, I would scream at the top of my lungs.
Yeah, you guys are able to put on the hurt there and do it in 4 games. Were there any, other than the cars, were there any like big changes you guys tried to make between matches 1 and 2 for you?
Talking about confidence again, we just needed to, go for the ball. Just trust our abilities, challenge. And if you don't take risks, you can't get rewards. So we just needed to play our game.
So is that what chat's missing? Is that why they're not getting rewards in chat right now?
Yeah, they haven't taken the risk enough. You know?
You need to drink some more brisk. Like, clearly, this is just combine the memes. This is how it works. So still 2 big weeks ahead of you guys, but you're sitting at number 3 right now. Like, how does G2 feel right now with where you are in league play, looking forward towards the playoffs as we're getting closer and closer to that?
Getting the win over C9 is a bit of validation, knowing that we've still got it even from last season where we looked to get off to a hot start and then just completely fell off. So here we had a nice 1-0 in the first week, then a break, and we came back from the break, and I was a little apprehensive about, were we going to just fall off the face of the map again, or were we going to, come back hot? And it was kind of in between, but that win over C9 really boosts our confidence in preparation for the Rogue NRG week, which is going to be huge.
Are there any big teams? What team is the biggest hurdle for you guys that you still have yet to play in league play? Because you've only played 3 of your matches. You still have most of your season to play here.
Energy is definitely our biggest matchup right now. There's kind of the battle for top 3, and we want to make sure that if we hold a win over Energy and Cloud9, then that means even though we drop the game to FlyQuest, if we can pick up the rest, that's a top 2 spot, and we don't want to have the same thing happen last time where we're the 3 seed going into playoffs and then lose.
For sure. Just off the cuff, which team has the best chance right now, you think, of knocking NRG off of that top spot?
I think that would have to be FlyQuest right now. Ghosts already proved themselves, but I think FlyQuest is really going to hit their stride. I mean, they just hit their stride, and I think they're going to continue that streak. They're doing really well.
Well, a bold prediction there from Kronovi. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Any shout-outs you got before I let you go?
No, shout-outs to my parents. They've been watching. I think after every single game, if it's a loss, my mom will text me and say, oh, get them next time, focus on the next game. And after the Cloud9 win, she was spamming my phone like, good job, I know you could do it. So my parents have been a huge support. Also, shout-outs to my girlfriend. She's been a huge support. She was, making food in between the series, like, what do you want? You want a drink? You want something? And I just have a lot of support around me, and I'm very, very grateful for it.
Absolutely. Well, that is awesome to hear that your family is so behind you there. Thank you so much, Kronovi, for taking the time to talk to us. Good luck in the rest of Season 4.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. That is Kronovi from G2 Esports. We'll get to see them again and later on in the week here as we move forward and things. But for now, still here on Overtime, got the 50-50 coming up. Carpet's going to take Quinn. No, not Quinn. I think it's going to be Shogun and Lawler, I think, are going to be facing off against us there. We'll find out. Stick around. We'll find out after the break. See you there.
Oh, I didn't see you there. Hi. My name's Final Carpet, and this is the 50-50. Apparently, they're not big fans of that. I loved it. Anyways, I've got with me here, I've got Shogun,
Hi.
a guy who I think still figuring out whatever technology brought him over the seas over here.
It was a big plane.
And then we've got, to my left, Lawler. I'm pretty sure he's just happy there's someone paler than him on the broadcast now. Shogun is here.
Hi.
How's it going, you guys? Okay, so here's how it's going to work. Sorry, I got to ramp up the volume a bit. I wasn't ready.
Turn the dial,
turn up your
Carl.
knob. Yeah, turn
it
up your
down.
knob.
All right, so here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to ask them questions, and then they're going to answer them with their opinions. They're hard-set opinions. And I'm going to determine who I think's the winner. All right, are you boys ready?
I already won with that.
Oh, yeah. Are you boys ready?
Yeah.
All right, first question is going to go to Shogun.
Hi.
And I deliberately worded this the way I did. Who is more inconsistent, North America or Europe? Shogun.
North America. Pretty simply because in Europe, it's the very small details. It can go either way, but it is because teams are good. However, we get teams in NA just like FlyQuest. 0-2 to start with, 2-0 here. That could only really happen in NA. It wouldn't happen in EU. I don't even think it would happen in OCE.
All right, well, it's hard set on North America. Lawler, what do you got?
You know, I know there's a bromance between me and Shogun, and that's not going to end right yet. It's going to keep going for a little bit. I agree it's also NA, simply because we have the most inconsistent team in the world in G2. We don't know each week what team we're going to get out of G2, and they keep doing that. But now it's for the rest of the region as well. The standings don't make any sense.
I'm sorry. Is this called the 50-50 or the 100? All right? You guys are supposed to disagree. I called you out last
I don't know
week.
what you want
50
from me.
and 50 equals 100, so I mean, kind
I
of.
called you out last time for being boring with Gibbs. Don't do it to me
I'm
again.
gonna bring out the fight. I'll bring out
Let's
the
do
fight.
it. All right, Lawler, first one's going to you. Not first
What
one.
he goes from going
Next
different.
one's going
No
to
matter
you.
what he goes
The
from going
first
different.
next one, bring
The
it up.
second one is
Do it
going to
now.
Lawler. You ready?
Yeah.
Which team has a better shot at LAN, Cloud9 or PSG?
You know, you got to give it to Cloud9, actually, because they have an easy path there right now with the inconsistency in NA. Going back to that first question, Carpet, you look at between these two teams, and in the aspect of how these teams are starting to spread and distance themselves, Cloud9 is the clear favorite at North America.
Cloud9 for Lawler. Shogun, you looked like you disagreed when he first answered. What you got?
That's because I did disagree, Carpet. What a great imagination I have to go against the person I'm against in the 50-50.
Oh, so proud.
I'm going to go with PSG because, as we just mentioned, NA is the more inconsistent region. Currently, PSG 4-0 in the better region, but I do appreciate that you can have this little hope, this team that you can put forward every single year from NA and just go, maybe we can do it. No. Not happening. PSG.
Now we're talking. You boys disagreeing. That's what I like. Now let's get vague. Who's the best striker at all, in general? Lawler, I'll let you start again.
It's hard to argue with stats, I think we can all agree, and there's no one better right now other than Gimmick. North American MVP making his breakthrough as the rookie as well. Statistically, best shots on net, one of the best assists on net as well, and earlier in the segment, we also talked about Golden Striker Awards, and guess who's at the top, Carpet? It was Gimmick.
You didn't need to remind me, but you should have done that to him. The insult goes to him, not me. But either way,
But Carpet,
you know,
make the decisions, Carpet.
we're taking steps, Lawler, and we're doing good. We're in the right direction. All right.
For the first time in history on the 50-50, we don't need to cater to Carpet.
Lawler is going with the numbers, the hard numbers, the stats. Shogun, what do you got?
I'm going for Corrupted G because Lawler likes to use his stats. Let's go for this one. Okay, Gimmick, yes. 0.11 above. However, if we go for stats, more shooting percentage, higher goal participation, and he's doing that on FlyQuest. That's like hitting a bullseye with a broken bow.
Wait, so you're
That is how
telling me he
good
doesn't have to
Corrupted G is.
compete with anybody?
I'm saying right now that if you are playing on Rogue, I mean not Rogue,
He doesn't even know what team he plays
he's
for.
playing for Cloud9. It's like giving a team every single possibility. He's being allowed more shots. Cloud9 are really high up in shots per game, whilst on the other half, FlyQuest are in the bottom half of that entire leaderboard. Yet Corrupted G still 1.00, still high up in that rating, still higher shooting percentage. Cloud9, good. Corrupted G, better.
I disagree with that simply because of the fact that look at the teams they've played already so far. FlyQuest has had shaky teams that they've been playing against, and they themselves have been shaky in those performances. They're barely squeaking ahead wins, and yes, even though Corrupted G is the only one stepping up on that team, Gimmick is having to fight for those plays against everybody else on his team at the same time.
All right. You guys are bringing a tear to my eye. This is just so great.
It's lovely, isn't it?
I'm loving it.
I love being right.
This couldn't make me better. But let's move on. Let's get to the next question. We don't have much left. All right. Another vague question. We might as well. Let's give you guys all the creativity to come up with your answers. Shogun, this one's going to start with you.
Yep.
What is your favorite team to watch and why?
Method. Every single time it has to be Method. They put the work in. It's what I've always wanted to see from a team, and they're now getting the results for it. 4-0 in a region as tough as they've currently got it is incredible. Every player on there can step up. 2 MVP awards on that squad. We're only 3 weeks in. I expected them to make it 4 out of 5 by the end of the season.
All right, Method, a European team. No surprise from the European fanboy himself.
Yeah.
Please disagree with him.
Nope.
Lawler, what do you got?
You know, there's another team in Europe that is a newcomer, that is also undefeated, and they go by the name of PSG. How do you not give it to PSG? The individual plays that some of these players like Bluey are making, a not-so-newcomer, but we treat him as a newcomer because it's first time. He plays a lot, we get it. But he's making a name for himself, and you have every single player on that team as well, also making all these individual plays, but also more cohesion as a team as well. You're getting players like Chaussette, who's making a comeback. You get players who each game have a different player that is stepping up to the plate rather than your just typical 2 while one sits in the back and helps them keep doing that same thing.
All right,
Everybody.
Lawler, I'll give you this point if you can say their name. Can you do it?
Come on, dude.
Saint-Germain.
It was close. It was Paris Saint-Germain. I think that was pretty close.
He wants to bring out his I know these accents.
Well, I have been spending my entire life, watching that football club, so it's worthwhile.
All right, guys. This one's pressing, and I don't know what you guys think, but who is the worst at predictions? And I'm talking about casters, and why is it Axel Toth?
I got one. Give me this one right away. Clean sweep, flip side tactics. What more do you need to say?
Oh, no.
I know, Axel. I got to chime in for the first time, all right? Look, you went 6 out of 7 losses, I think, on the European. Or what? No, was it North American? Greg,
it was bad.
It was
bad. I know you want to root for those teams, man, but come on.
Gotta use your brain sometimes. The reason why you have to give this answer to me is, so Axel got 1 right. Am I right? You got 1 right out of the 7?
I think.
And guess which one Shogun got wrong this week?
That same one.
Exactly.
Uh-oh. Shogun, what was it? Which one was it?
I may have
Tell him,
accidentally selected Team Secret over Excel by clicking the wrong button.
Right.
So we can blame Gibbs' thing.
We can blame Gibbs' thing. He keeps spelling everyone's names wrong in it anyway, so how was I supposed to know?
All right, so that's going to be my final question for the 50-50. And for the first time in 50-50 history, just because you both did so well, you're both going to win. Because I'm so proud. You guys did so much effort from the last time I saw you.
Shogun, rock, paper, scissors?
Energetic. No. It's been declared. You're both the winner, and I want a double high five out of this. You guys ready?
Yeah.
We can do it.
Do I have to? Fine.
Whatever. We got it. All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Did I get it?
Right there.
No, I'm not near at all.
I'm going to clap when we get out of it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to the 50-50 Mind-Definable Carpet. Remember, next week you can tune in same exact time for the overtime. It's going to be 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time right here on Rocket League /everything/Twitch/stay here, keep watching /I don't know what they're doing. From Shogun, Lawler, myself, and everybody here, thank you so much. See you next week.